raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with your hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Here we focus on helping men and those with men in their lives solve some of life's complex challenges through understanding the practices of mindfulness and how they can help. Each episode is in an environment free of judgment and criticism, with a focus on authenticity and inner peace. Let's dig in.
Hey, Will. How you doing, man?
Good, John.
I'm really not feeling up to a show, man. I'm kind of feeling a little overwhelmed. I think I'm just gonna sit here and scroll through social media. Again, not really feeling up to a show.
John, we have a show today. Like we promised each other, we're gonna do a show on overcoming procrastination. Remember?
Yes. All right. Gotcha, our audience. In all honesty, how many of us actually do feel that way right now or have felt that way in the past? I know all of us have felt that way. So welcome to the Men Talking Mindfulness podcast. We're not always crazy like that, but we are always crazy. I'm Jon McCaskill, and each week my co-host Will Schneider and I, we work to break down a different side and aspect of mindfulness, and we try to make it meaningful to you. And this week, we're jumping into the subject of procrastination, hence the opening. Today, we're going to be discussing what procrastination is, common procrastination methods, and we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you, our audience, in the comments. If you're watching live on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, wherever you may be watching, throw it in the comments what your favorite way, quote unquote, what's your favorite way to procrastinate, right? Maybe not favorite, but most used, right? And then we're going to talk about what procrastination does to us mentally, emotionally, and even physiologically. Will's done a lot of research. I've got to be honest. I did procrastinate on doing my own notes and research on this, and Will's going to be carrying us big time today. So anyway, we're going to be discussing what procrastination does to us mentally, physiologically, and emotionally, both the bad and, surprisingly, the good parts, and then ways to overcome that procrastination. And we're going to be getting into much, much more in this show. But before we get into that, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host, my brother from another mother, Will, there in New York City.
It's, hey, great to be back, guys. And good to be with you, John. Lindsay's in the background, taking notes for us. I love this show. I hope you all are loving this show out there. And maybe it's time to get away. Maybe it's time to unplug from all the emails, the social media, all the digital distractions. What would it be like to release your stress, hit reset, rejuvenate your body, your mind, your soul, and have some fun? Well, we have that solution for you if you want, right? If you want to join us, you can sign up for our Mindfulness Adventure Retreat that's happening May 18th to the 21st on the east side, on the East Coast in upstate New York, in Claverack, New York. We still have space for you. We're going to have this 4-day, 3-night immersive experience that we're going to breathe, we're going to move, we're going to get mindful, we're going to get to know our other participants that are on the retreat. We already have several right now, and we only have a few spots left. This retreat also includes a 4-week integration program. So this is what the last group that we had, I was very excited, not just to do the experience with them, which was an amazing time, like having me, you, and Teresa there, and having our 8 students and being in Durango, Colorado, and having a blast, and not just learning about mindfulness and movement and meditation and breath practices, but like riding horses, shooting guns, and stuff like that. This is a little bit different place that we're going to upstate, but I really enjoyed, John, the 4-week integration program. We're able to dive in every week and go a little bit deeper into each aspect of mindfulness that we learn in the retreat. It really helped to bring it into our lives. And that's why we're doing the integration program. And we're doing the retreat because, I love this digital footprint. I love doing the show, but we have like a, 3-minute, breath practice. We have meditations out there in the digital space as well. But this gives an opportunity to get together, experience a common humanity, and learn from one another and learn these practices in real time. So I'm very excited for it, and I'm excited to see last couple days we've got a couple new reservations that came in. So, hey, and also help us grow. Take a screenshot right now if you're listening and say, hey, I'm become more mindful because I'm listening to Jon and Will and Men Talking Mindfulness. We'd really appreciate that. And we are growing, and we thank you for helping us to grow. Another way, leave a review for us. If you're on Apple, you can kind of scroll to the bottom, give us a 5-star review if you feel it's worth 5 stars, but I definitely feel it does. And you can leave a review. And you can also, we didn't know this, you can follow us on Spotify and put a little alert so you can see when our next podcast is being released. Our YouTube is growing as well. You can hit us over there at youtube.com. At Men Talking Mindfulness. And last thing we have, it's March 1st. Is that right, John? March 1st.
It is March
Happy
1st.
New March 1st, right? And we have our new monthly resolution, and we're going to do meditation this month, right? To counteract the March madness, we're going to have a meditation. And we ask you, anyone listening, every day at least 7 minutes of meditation. And maybe that's an opportunity, again, post on your social or send us a message and say, hey, I'm meditating. I mean, also to support that meditation, those meditation practices, we have several meditations on our platform that you can just listen to and follow with that guided meditation. And I think that's all I have to say, John, but we have lots to say about procrastination. Where should we begin?
Well, let's start with our grounding practice. Let's not procrastinate on that. And I got to say, we got in the comments, for some reason they're not showing up here, but they're showing up on our social media. Justin Clapsaddle says, I was going to listen to this show, but I guess I'll wait until later. And then Cassandra says, sleep is her favorite method of procrastination. And then Steve says, my favorite method of procrastination is watching live streams instead of working, which I guess that's what's happening right now. So we appreciate that, Steve.
There's going to be a lot of jokes coming in today, John.
Oh, because, I know it. I love it.
Everybody's a fucking master procrastinator.
Yes.
And if you're not, I want to please come on the show. We want to talk to you.
There's a classic meme.
You need to know about.
There's a classic meme. I forget exactly what it says, but it's a sign out front of a store, and it says the Procrastination Foundation meeting next week.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's how I feel about procrastination. But yeah, all right. So without further procrastination, let's get into our practice. All right. So for those listening or watching for the first time, this is how we open the show, or at least 10 minutes into the show, however long we're into the show. We practice what we preach. We practice a grounding practice, just some simple breathing, and then we wrap up the show in the same way, just to get you, our audience, focused and kind of back into that green. But we also do it for ourselves, 100% honesty. I mean, because Will and I get excited about these episodes, and if we just went right into the meat and potatoes, a lot of what we want to cover would probably get lost. So here we are. Let's get into that practice. Let's get into a position that is both comfortable and safe. And when I say safe, I mean physically safe and emotionally safe, whatever that looks like and feels like for you. And then just bring your attention intentionally to your breath. Don't force anything, but just notice the physical aspects of your breath. The rise and fall of your diaphragm as you breathe in and out. How the air feels and where you notice it entering on the inhalation, and how it feels and where you notice it leaving on the exhalation. Notice how your breath expands your chest and belly on the inhalation, and how your chest and belly shrink on the exhalation. And even in this short practice, you may have noticed that your mind has wandered off somewhere, some other place, some other space, some other time, and that's perfectly okay. Just bring your mind and your focus back to the breath. we'll conclude with one deep cleansing breath together. Begin by exhaling all your breath. Deep breath in from the belly to the chest. Extra sip at the top. Hold and relax. And as you let that go, bring some movement back into your body, maybe moving your head around, rolling your shoulders, wiggling your fingers and toes. And yes, let's do this. No further procrastination, Will. Let's get into it.
Right. Well, why don't we go with some quotes by some great names and people out there? I thought that'd be kind of fun. And here is Benjamin Franklin. He says, "You may delay, but time will not." Here's another one. I like this one. This is Pablo Picasso. "Only put off until tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone."
I love that one.
Notice how these are all related to time, right? Because tomorrow is not guaranteed, is what I hear Picasso telling me. Charles Dickens, "My advice is never do tomorrow what you can do today. Procrastination is the thief of time. Collar him." And Abraham Lincoln, "You can't escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today." So those are all, I don't know. That is always good.
I like that.
Put a little reference for
yes, it actually reminds me when I was at the Naval Academy, we used to do these things called chow calls. And for my fellow Naval Academy listeners, you're going to get this. But basically, as a freshman, what we call a plebe, you have to memorize 3 meals in advance, like the menus, right? You have to memorize the menus. You have to memorize some news articles, at least 3 every day, or at least this was back in 97 to 2001, so things may have changed. But this was back when I was going through. You have to memorize all these things, and then 10 minutes and 2 minutes before every meal, you as a freshman go stand out in the hallway, and you start yelling all these facts. Hey, what time formation is, the meal, blah, blah, blah. And the upperclassmen come and yell at you. And it's basically supposed to serve as a stress inoculation. And sounds ridiculous, but it is actually pretty stressful. But anyhow, and I see my buddy Matt Myers here. He's knowing where I'm going with this. At the very end of every single chow call, you say, "Time, tide, and formation wait for no one." And that's exactly true, right? Time doesn't wait for anyone. As you said right there from Benjamin Franklin, you may delay, but time will not. Time doesn't wait for anyone. So the more time you procrastinate, the more time it's going to take to get something done. And I think Eric Thomas, the public speaker, and I'm sure this is not his quote, but I've heard him say it, that the more time you wait, or the longer you wait, the longer you're going to wait. So like the longer you wait to get started, the longer you wait, you're going to wait to get something accomplished, whatever that thing is. And I love just that simplicity. The longer you wait, the longer you're going to wait. All right. So yeah, man, I know I've been rambling, and you've got some great research here. So let's get into what you've got. Let's you want to start with the definition?
Yeah, we'll start with definition. You've already put a call out for our people to talk about, their forms of procrastination behaviors, maybe even add them a little bit later as we kind of learn more about the basics of procrastination. Defined, this is dictionary definition that we're going to get into the wiki part of it. Defined as the action of delaying or postponing something. Lots of synonyms, dithering, delaying tactics, stalling, hesitation, vacillation, hemming and hawing, dilly-dallying, right? Kicking the can down the road, into another tomorrow, right? Mañana, tomorrow. Here is, I thought this was interesting, 3 criteria of behavior to be classified for academic procrastination. I wasn't sure if it was academic procrastination in the sense of it's procrastination within academia, or the academic kind of behavior, or or procrastination in academically. Anyway, it's procrastination is counterproductive. It's needless. Obviously, if there's some sort of emergency that creates priority, then that's not needless. And also, delaying is another behavior as well. We're going to get into this a little bit deeper. There's 2 types of procrastination. That one is short term, which has a deadline, and one is long term procrastination, which without a deadline, and that can be really, really deadly because again, how many times I just said it. How many times we mentioned time already in this episode? So this has your relationship to time and procrastination are very, I think, are very united in a lot of ways.
That long-term procrastination, without the deadline, like you said, that's the really tough and dangerous one, because it's very easy to be like, hey, I'll get to it tomorrow, I'll get to it someday, and more often than not, when you say I'm going to do it tomorrow, or I'm going to get to it someday, that tomorrow becomes tomorrow, and we never actually get to that someday, and we think that we have forever. But we really don't even know that tomorrow, literally the day tomorrow, or even the rest of today, is going to be given to us. It's a gift, right? And a lot of the time we just assume that we're going to have all the time in the world. I do that. I'm guilty of doing that with my kids. Sadly enough, I'll come home after a long day of work, and they'll want to play, and I'll play for a little bit, and then they're like, "Hey, let's play some more." I'm like, "Can we do it tomorrow? Can we do it tomorrow?" And then once they go to sleep, I'm like, shit, right? Like, why didn't I play with them a little bit more? I could have spent some more quality time with them. And I know, other folks will get that, will understand. Also you have to be kind to yourself. You got to give yourself some grace. But there's just a feeling like, oh man, I've lost out on an opportunity. And whether that's with kids, or whether that's with a business, or whether that's with some other goal in mind, if we don't take advantage of this moment that we're given right now, often we are going to lose out on that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I like. Why Pablo Picasso says, at the end, he says, only put off until tomorrow that you are willing to die having left undone.
That's
so
awesome.
It's like, again, there are no guarantees for tomorrow. And I think, like, when you put yourself on that time continuum, that, like, it can end, hopefully we get through the show, John, without but it's like, but I don't know. I mean, I imagine I'm going to make it to the end of the day, but there are no guarantees.
Yeah. Have you, I don't know if you're watching, I know you don't have a TV, so you don't watch a whole lot of TV, but my wife and I have been watching this new series on HBO called The Last of Us. I'm sure some of the audience. I do stream
things, John. So I do stream things, but I don't have like a TV with cable.
Okay.
And shit,
Check.
Yeah.
So, The Last of Us is basically another zombie apocalypse kind of movie, but it's specifically about, and it's funny because it's kind of ties to our show in that we've talked about psychedelics and mushrooms. Well, in this show, it's actually cordyceps, the mushrooms that take over the body, because I don't know if you've ever heard of the zombie ants. There's literally a such thing as a zombie ant, where an ant is taken over by a fungi, and the fungi controls the ant. And anyway, the point of where I'm going with this, because I could very easily go down a crazy rabbit hole, is that they all assume that they've got tomorrow, right? Again, we continually assume that we got tomorrow, but we never know when the zombie apocalypse is coming or the alien attack is coming, right? We don't know if we're going to make it through the rest of this show. So maybe I'll stop procrastinating and I'll actually start getting into some more good content.
So let's look at this from a health perspective. Okay, and this is from Wikipedia. I just, hey, anyone you want to look up, how we research or one of the things, I love going to Wikipedia. There's a lot of great citations. I go to different articles and stuff, and so I thought this was very good for our audience and good for us to understand. To a certain degree, it is normal to procrastinate, and it can be regarded as a useful way to prioritize tasks due to lower tendencies of procrastination or truly valued tasks. However, excessive procrastination can become a problem and impede normal functioning. When this happens, procrastination has been found to result in health problems, stress, anxiety, a sense of guilt and crisis, as well as a loss of personal productivity and social disapproval for not meeting responsibilities or commitment. I'm going to keep going. Together, these feelings will promote further procrastination, and for some individuals, procrastination becomes almost chronic. Such procrastinators may have difficulty seeking support due to procrastination itself, but also social stigmas and the belief that Task aversion is caused by laziness, lack of willpower, or low ambition. In this case, problematic procrastination might be a sign of some underlying psychological disorder. So maybe, we're not doctors here. We're just talking, potential, ways that you're expressing procrastination. But if you do have a lot of chronic procrastination, maybe go get checked out and see what's up. Other feelings I thought were interesting, and we're going to talk about feelings a little bit more. Other feelings, because that's part of this too. It's not just get your shit done, right? What gets in the way of you getting your stuff done very often are feelings. And some of these feelings are, I already mentioned some, but others are dread and self-hatred. We already talked about guilt. So what comes up for you there, Jon?
Oh man, I know guilt is a big one for me, right? I just talked about the situation with my kids, but then also if I set a goal of working out, and for some reason I'll set a goal of working out in the morning, and maybe I have my alarm set for 5 a.m. It's very easy to hit that snooze button, or it's also very easy with young kids, for those young kids, their morning schedule to disrupt my plan for the morning. Like this very morning, this happened. I'd planned on getting up and getting on my bike, my stationary bike, and my young 4-year-old came into the bedroom and he wanted to, get in the bed. That's what kids do, and I'm not gonna say no. So I let him come in there, and I actually appreciated the time with him. But I also, in the back of my mind, thought, crap, now I'm kicking this can down the road, as you mentioned before, of hey, now I've got to do the workout later, and again, that later may not actually happen. And that happens quite a lot, whether it's to me or to others. And we start to think, well, I missed today, so I'll just put it off till tomorrow. Then tomorrow comes, and then, that happens again and again, and you miss it and miss it and miss it. And then you're like, you know what? Screw it. It's happened 90 days in a row. One more day doesn't matter. Right. It does, though. It does. Every little day, quote unquote, right. It does matter. And if you're able to get out of that guilt cycle and also get out of the all or nothing mentality, sometimes that's ways to overcome that procrastination, right? It's that mentality is, hey, I missed a workout, so may as well just stop working out altogether. That's the all or nothing mentality. Hey, it's better to miss that workout and the next day be like, okay, I missed that workout, but that doesn't mean I have to miss today's. That doesn't mean I have to miss the next week's. And you can get back on the proverbial wagon. So the guilt one is a big one, but I also want to talk about that dread, that feeling of dread, right? So you're dreading an overwhelming task. Let's say you have you want to write a book. Will and I are writing a book right now, and we've procrastinated on that for a long time, but now we're actually getting our shit together and we're doing it.
Now we're doing it.
So anyway, that procrastination, if you look at it, you're like, okay, it's going to take, a year to write a book. I'm just throwing that number out there. Let's say it's going to take a year to write a book. And you procrastinate a month. You're like, oh, well, now it's going to take, if I still want to meet my goal, my deadline, now it's going to take 11 months, but now I have to work that much harder to get it done. If I procrastinate another 3 months, then now I'm looking at 8 months to cram all this in. And then I get so overwhelmed with dread. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. And so that guilt, definitely I feel that dread and overwhelm. And as you kick that can further down the road, that dread and overwhelm just increases. And then, yes, the self-hatred, man, I'll start to think, I'm weak, I'm a loser. I set a goal that I can't even stick to. How am I going to hold other people to accomplishing their goals if I can't stick to my own? That self-hatred, man, that is a slippery slope. So yes, all three of those that you just brought up definitely come up in my life if I don't get my shit together.
Yeah, and get it done. I mean, it's a cycle of behavior, right? And then it becomes a habit. Like if you're always kicking the can down the road, mañana, then it just becomes a way of being, and that way of being, like procrastination, it brings up, again, like a lot of feelings. Like, it brings stress. We're going to talk about specifically stress and procrastination because they are definitely linked. But like, I feel that, I get more self-sabotaging when I don't get my stuff done because these feelings are already up inside me or kind of living inside me. And then I just I just start falling into who I don't want to be and how I don't want to show up by not getting stuff done. Instead of, like, I like to think of the whole idea like stacking wins. And when I start getting into that flow where I get like one little thing done and another thing and maybe a bigger thing and a bigger thing, I'm like, I feel fantastic. Like, I don't have that dread. I don't have that guilt. I don't have that sabotaging voices. And it goes the other way. I'm like, my voice just what it says. You're kicking ass, Will. You're an amazing motherfucker. I'm just kidding, right?
But for real, I know we're gonna have an episode in a few months on dopamine, and we can talk about that. Yeah. But man, that when you start to get those little goals, you're like stacking those wins, and Andy Reese talked about that on his episode of accomplishing your goals. Stack those little wins, and I actually took a kind of a play from his playbook indirectly. But this month for March, again coming back to our new month resolution, I want to meditate every single day. And I want to work out every single day. Now, I don't want to crush myself every single day, but I want to do something physically to maintain my wellness. I want to do meditation, some form of meditation. I'm trying to do an hour every day. So I broke out my calendar and I wrote meditation at the top and workout at the top. And I drew a little orange circle for working out and a green circle for meditation. And then I went through the month, and every single day I drew an orange and a green open circle on those days. And then if I accomplish those goals, I go and I fill those circles in. And that's the little dopamine hit, right? And I know Andrew Huberman, if he's ever going to listen to our podcast, he'll be like, oh gosh, the dopamine hit doesn't actually exist. There's no such thing. But everyone knows what I'm talking about. You get that kind of sense of, hey, accomplishment, you felt good. And as you stack those wins, maybe 3 or 4 days into the month, I'm like, all right, I've got 3 or 4 days in a row. Let's go for 6. Now I get momentum. 6 days. Now I go for longer and longer, and you get that momentum. Exactly, you get that flywheel started. So that stacking those wins and appreciating those wins, not just doing it, but then acknowledging the fact that you've done it. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true. It's so true. It's like we can have our actions work for us, right? And therefore our neurochemistry comes with us, right? In order to feel, empowered, productive. I'm more peaceful, John, when I'm so fucking chill, John.
Yeah.
When I'm not sitting on a bunch of shit that I procrastinated on. When I get out, my mind's clear. I just feel so much better. When I'm procrastinating, like literally that dread and that self-hatred is really two of my, and to get all that stuff kind of comes. It just opens up that Pandora's box of all the negativity bias on the inside, which we need to stay away from. Why don't we go to the brain of procrastination? I thought it'd be a good thing to talk about next. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
This is more wiki. Research on the psychology roots of procrastination have been concerned with the role of the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain that is responsible for the executive brain function, or is called executive function, such as impulse control, attention, and planning. Right, that's the things that executive function do for us. Cognitive flexibility is one of it. Inhibition control, so shutting out distractions, but also when it's online, our working memory is intact too, which helps to inform the present moment from the past. This is consistent with the notion that procrastination is strongly related to the opposite of what EF does, right? So procrastination is exactly the opposite of being in. I was just talking about this earlier today. I was teaching a class. It's like, when you put yourself in, when you're like kind of the master of your domain, right? Now Seinfeld reference, right? When you're in the master your domain in which, like, your emotions are controlling you, the outside forces are controlling you, other people's expectations or other people's priorities of what you should be doing are controlling. You're in control. Like, you're getting your shit done. Like, you're filling those little dots you talked about, or going through that, being strategic in what you're getting done. But the opposite is true. Like when we, so we're really talking about sympathetic nervous system versus parasympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, freeze versus the calm, cool, and connected self. So when the prefrontal cortex is online, right, and this is executive function is activated, also acts as a filter, decreases distracting stimuli from other brain regions. It also goes on to say here, damage or low activation in this area can reduce one's ability to avert diversion, which results in poor organization, a loss of attention, and increased procrastination. And this is why, we practice. This is why one of the big reasons we have this show, talk about mindfulness is because and that's why we're doing this month of meditation, is like, if you begin to develop a practice and not procrastinate and do it tomorrow, right here today in the morning, set a schedule, put your ass down, show up and do it. Things can really change, because again, you're taking ownership for your time. We only have we only have so many. We don't know how much time we have, right? But we get to control our time, and therefore, and if we're controlling our time in time, we have a better opportunity of just getting things done, but also feeling better about ourselves. Cool. Anything there, John?
I mean, the prefrontal cortex, we talk about that regularly when we talk about the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous systems, and we also talk about accessing the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest side of the nervous system. It's the kind of the green side, if you will, green versus red. That parasympathetic, when we're in that, and we're going to get into this next week as we talk about self-compassion, we have more compassion for ourselves. And when we are, in fact, procrastinating, that comes back to that guilt and that dread and that self-hatred. I think when you are practicing mindfulness and meditation, that's going to put you into that parasympathetic more often. And as you're in that parasympathetic more often, you're going to have more compassion for yourself. And as you have more compassion, you're going to have less guilt, less self-hatred, and you're going to be more likely to actually go after your goals and get started and get things done. So that's what popped up into my mind as you were discussing the executive function.
I think it also gives you the ability, when you do procrastinate, to forgive yourself and move on, right? Yeah. Instead of beating yourself up and so it's like, God, I'm a master beater upper, John. I got a fucking black belt in master beating upping. And it's like, but I don't need to go down. I don't need to do that. When I have, when I'm practiced, and also what the practice is going to help you to do, like especially meditation, or maybe it's breathing, or just even just getting out without, and just getting in your body a little bit. It creates it continually develops a stronger relationship to what the experience of being present is. And that's where these things start to change. When you become present and wake up, that's like, we get into that STIA process we talked many times, right? Right. We can get into like, this is me I'm like very present with you right now on the show. I mean, it's tough not to be when you're doing a live show, I'm here, I'm now, right? I'm listening, but also, like just there's a lot going on right now, but I'm present, right? And when I'm present, I know I can, being present gives the opportunity also, John, to just be objective with my experience. I can experience myself emotionally. I can experience the world around me. I can experience but not react to the feelings, or not even react to the thoughts, the stream of consciousness that continually they call it a stream, right? Just runs and runs and runs. Mind thinks, the heart beats, right? The lungs breathe, right? It's not going to stop. That's not the point. It's the point to observe, right? Stop, take a breath, observe, and then proceed. And that's what, when you practice and you continually practice and you develop a stronger relationship to being present, you're probably going to be less likely to procrastinate and feel all those feelings as well. I thought it'd be anything, John, from that, or
well, I've got some things, but it's going to tie into some of the other stuff that we're going to cover later. Okay. So great. Let's keep going.
So I think all you sneaky procrastinators out there, I thought this would be kind of fun to talk about here. These are several emotionally oriented strategies, right? Fuck, right? So nefarious, procrastination, isn't it? These are emotionally oriented strategies or coping styles and self-handicapping, okay? So check these out. So these are coping behaviors, responses of procrastinators include the following, right? So number one is avoidance, right? And that's avoiding the location or situation where the task takes place. Right. So talk about meditation, right? You have one spot you do your meditation and you just continually walk by it. Don't look at it, avoid the building you're supposed to go into, take the long way around the gym so you don't have to see the gym and feel more guilt. Right?
That's like you've seen my downstairs gym, right? I've got a nice downstairs gym, and you have to actively step into it, but I will bypass it. And you have to pass it on the way to my kids' bedrooms to, put them to sleep or whatever. I will pass it and just like in the like this peripheral, I'm like, oh, there's a gym over there, but oh yeah, I'm not going to use it. I avoid it at all. Well, I mean, when I am procrastinating, so that avoidance absolutely rings true, man. Rings true.
That's one. There's 5, 6 more, I think, right? So denial and trivialization, right? This is what that means. Denial and trivialization. I said that very well. I'm very proud of myself right now. Okay. There's a lot of syllables in that word. Pretending that here's another word. Pretending that procrastinatory behavior is not actually procrastinating, but rather a task which is more important than the one you're trying to avoid, or that the essential task that should be done is not an immediate importance, right? So you're just like playing with the devil there, you know?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
You know, not so denying.
You guys, I love that you got so wrapped up in the fact that you said denial and trivialization, right? And then you tripped over
Yeah, exactly. And procrastinatory, right? Oh God.
Anyway, sorry, man. I love you, brother.
It's okay. Another one, distraction, of course, right? Distraction. Engaging or immersing oneself in others' behaviors or actions to prevent awareness of the task, right? So doing something else, we actually put a poll out, John. I should go check it right now.
I could tell you what the winner was. So I know you said, what are the different things that you can do as far as procrastination? I think it was like washing your car, social media, laundry, and a couple other ones. And somebody commented on your post saying, well, all the things you listed were actually productive except for checking social media, and social media was off the charts. The winner by far. It's very easy. I think if you had put Netflix on there, that would have been a top performer too. And funny thing about Netflix, when asked, I think I've covered this on the show before, when asked what their number one competitor is, you would think it might be Amazon Prime, it might be HBO. Paramount or HBO. It's not. The number one competitor for Netflix is sleep.
Exactly. Wow. Yeah. So, social media is definitely a big distraction. Okay, here we go. Oh boy, here's some words. Okay.
You want me to hit it?
You got it, John. Please, thank you.
All right. Descending counterfactuality. It's comparing consequences of one's procrastination or procrastinatory behavior with others' worse situations. Hey, you know what? They're not getting into the gym. So I don't need to get in the gym. Hey, it's been a week for them to get to the gym. I can skip today, that kind of thing. So descending counterfactuality. What is it? The next one, valorization.
Well, no, hold on. Let me just stop right there.
Yeah,
so that brings up Gifts of Adversity with Marcus Aurelius Anderson. He goes, misery loves company, but it loves mediocrity more. Is that right?
Yeah, that was it,
exactly.
Man. Yes.
Okay, go.
All right, so valorization, pointing in satisfaction to what one has achieved in the meantime, while one should have been doing something else. So maybe you should have been doing your taxes. I just did my taxes yesterday, and maybe I should have been doing my taxes earlier in the year. And who knows? Maybe I washed my car. I'm like, oh, look at how great I am. I washed my car. Well, maybe I should have been doing my taxes. So that's like highlighting something that you did that wasn't necessarily a priority. All right, next one, blaming is delusional attributions to external factors, such as rationalizing that the procrastination is due to external forces beyond one's control. I may have just done that. Literally, as I was explaining my morning routine, I may have blamed it on my son, right? I blamed it on my son coming in my room. Well, maybe the better thing would have been to actually put him aside, leave him in the bed, and go and get my workout in. I don't know.
Or tell him put him on the bike with you, John.
Put him on. Yeah, that's right. You're 4 years old. Let's get it.
Good.
Yeah. And you want to hit that last one, man?
Yeah, the last one is mocking, right? And again, all these we just talked about are coping behaviors or responses of procrastinators, right? And this includes mocking, using humor to validate one's procrastination. And I probably, I do that. I'm like,
for sure. I mean, we're doing it right in this show, right? So that's an easy one.
Jacked up.
Yep.
Okay.
And we talked
So
about
those are, I thought those behaviors are interesting. Yeah, John.
Oh, for sure, man. And I'm guilty of every single one of them, and I'm sure everyone listening is guilty in some form or fashion of every single one of those too. So, and then talking about, I see in the notes here, Parkinson's law, and I think we've discussed that with Marcus Aurelius, and it's been discussed. Oh yeah, there you go. You've actually got it in the notes that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. I remember when I was going through SEAL training, there was a more senior officer, fellow Naval Academy graduate. He always used to tell us that, hey, we don't have a deadline on this task, but I'm going to put a deadline on it, because if we don't, the task is going to fill the time available for its completion. That's what he always used to say, and he was absolutely right. Even without a deadline, it would just expand and expand and expand infinitely.
Right.
So you've got you've got to get started. And talking about getting started, and the whole dopamine piece that I was mentioning earlier, I'm going to mention a fellow Navy SEAL here who's very, very well known in this kind of world, Jocko Willink. He's a motivational speaker, former SEAL, hard as nails. Anyway, on his podcast, he talks about ways to overcome procrastination, and he says it's easy. You just take that first step. You just get started. You get moving.
Yeah.
And our business partner, Dr. Teresa Larson, she says that action has to come before the motivation. A lot of the time we sit around waiting for the motivation, the inspiration to hit us to get something started. But most of the time, we've actually got to get started to get the motivation. So it's counterintuitive.
Right. Exactly.
And then, coming back, sorry, I'm totally talking about a whole lot of SEALs here, but Admiral Bill McRaven, his famous speech, I think it was at the University of Houston. I'm probably wrong, maybe Texas. Anyway, I'm going to get beat up for messing up where that speech was, but he talks about making your bed. Get up, make your bed. Yeah. And as you make your bed, you get that first little task done, check. Like I remember growing up, I'd be like, why the hell do I need to make my bed? I'm just going to get back into it later. Well, if you make your bed, you accomplish something, and you accomplish something right off the bat. And in your mind, you've got that flywheel, that kind of momentum that we talked about before. So that's a huge piece, and and that can be also motivation to get out of bed, right? Again, I talked about hitting that snooze button. I forget who it was. It's a female motivational speaker, but I don't forget her name right now. But she talks about how she had gone into a lot of debt, and her marriage was struggling, and it was all fixed when she started getting out of bed when her alarm went off. And her alarm would go off, and she would hit the snooze button, and then she would beat herself up for hitting the snooze button. And throughout the day, she had that guilt monster, and was just that negative self-talk was with her throughout the day, and it affected her relationships with herself. It affected her relationships with her family. It affected her relationships with her friends and coworkers. When she started flipping that, her alarm would go off, and she started counting down as though NASA was there. And you'll hear her when she talks, again, I'm forgetting her name, but she would say, I would count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then get up. And once she started doing that, she started celebrating herself. Just that one little change, she started celebrating herself. And when she started celebrating herself, her relationships with everyone around her changed. So a lot of the time, it's not the motivation that's going to come first. You got to take that step, and the motivation comes next. Yes, take that action.
That's like, I was doing some research, and Mel Robbins talks about that. She's like, just start with whatever the task is. Start 5 minutes. 5 minutes is all it takes. And then that research has shown if you just stick to whatever that task is and do that task, and it could just be whatever, like even the simplest thing with that task, just 5 minutes, right? You have an 80%, after that 5 minutes is over, you have the studies have shown you have 80% greater likelihood to continue with that task. 80%, John. That's just by starting 5 minutes. Like, I mean, just think of all the fucking time I know for me that I waste on social media and just doom scrolling. Like, just take that 5 minutes of unproductivity and dread and the guilt and the self-shame and shit that comes with that and the sabotaging, and do something productive and watch how you start to feel. And also, that's why I think a morning routine is so important, John. So not only does
for
it get
sure.
you out of bed, but it gives you something to do. But also it gives me, for my routine, it's like I get up, I either read or journal, depending on what's like kind of coming up for us or whatever's coming up for me. And then I'll do some physical activity, just even like yoga for like, 5, 10, 15 minutes, meditate for 30 minutes. And then I'm like ready to go,
Yep.
and then I start my day. And then it's like, I'm a hell of a lot more likely, to just have a more productive and more successful day, when I just access that morning routine.
Right. Yeah.
And just stick with it.
The basic daily routine. That's something that we were taught in the military. It's huge to actually have that basic daily routine and stick to it. It can be a game changer.
Yeah. Why don't we just talk about, there's just basically the two types of procrastination. I thought was we've kind of tapped on or touched on them a little bit. One is short-term procrastination, and it's considered short-term because it has a deadline, right? And that when you have a deadline, and that, that time keeps ticking towards that deadline, you're going to wake up one of these moments, right? I was listening to some TED Talk, and the guy was saying like the panic monster shows up, right? And when the panic monster's in the house, it's like, I gotta get shit done because, like March 1st is March 1st. It's not, the next day, like I lose out on the opportunity, or I fail that class, or whatever. I get fired from my job if I don't get that done. So, but then it's like the long-term procrastination is where things get really very challenging and very slippery, because number one, there's none of that panic monster, because it's just
got
like,
forever.
Tomorrow
I got forever.
Yeah, I got forever. You can, and literally people live there. I feel that's sadly the way a lot of people go to the grave sometimes, is like not doing that one thing, starting that one thing that might have changed their life. Instead, they just keep kicking the can down the road.
I mean, in our episode about breaking up with sugar with Molly Carmel, she talks about the deference, right? And how easy it is to just defer everything to the next day, to the next week, to the next month. I mean, how many of us start New Year's resolutions on January 1st, but we don't start that New Year's resolution until January 1st, when we could have started it 3 months before, because we're deferring.
As soon as the next day after we set it, right?
Yeah. So like, when's the best time to get started on something? Right now. When's the best place? Where's the best place? Right here. So that's 100%, man. That just kicks the can down the road, man, and eventually that road ends.
Yeah. This is like also the road of long-term procrastination, right? The slippery slope of it, right? So it's less visible, right? Long-term, because they don't have that deadline. It's less talked about too, because you're not like, oh my God, I have to get this thing done by such and such a date, and like, broadcasting your problems to everybody. Where if you have like that dream inside of like whatever that is, and like in order to access that dream and start to live that dream, you got to take that first step, but you never take that first step. And the guilt, the shame, and the stacking of the mañana, tomorrow, keeps it quiet. It's less visible, it's less talked about. This can also, long-term procrastination can create long-term unhappiness and regret. I know I've felt that before. It can make you feel like a spectator in your own life instead of actively doing something that you're passionate about. You're just kind of watching yourself procrastinate another day. And I like this. I thought this was an interesting tool. It's like, if you look at how many weeks there are in a 90-year life, how many weeks there are, that's like what, 400 and,
more than that, man. 52, 52, and 4,000. Yeah, about 4,500 or something like that.
So how many weeks you have in a 90-year life? Maybe looking at that can help inspire you to start working on your dreams. Every week it's like wasted. Yeah.
I order, and it's kind of I don't know, morbid to think about this at first, but I had a calendar that I ordered from Amazon. You can actually get these that are like how many weeks are in a 80, 90-year life, and it's got a little black box that you just shade in for, if you're 45 years old, which I am, however many weeks that is, you shade all the weeks that you've already lived, and then you look at how many weeks you have left to live, and you're like, oh, you know what? I better start moving. I better start getting this stuff done, right? I better start writing that book.
Yeah. So I mean, I wrote here, it's like how to overcome long-term procrastination. It's like, well, first set a deadline for yourself, and then again, that's like with yourself. So why don't you bring in somebody else, like hire a coach, or leverage the power of accountability. Could be a great way. It's like, get somebody like, hey,
Talked about
like
that.
maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your best friend, whatever, someone that you can really rely on to help you accomplish what you want to do, and is going to, and also I would also add here, I'm going to add something else here. It's like, I have some consequences,
Right.
For every time I don't do this, then I must do that. And if the consequence is significant enough, or something that you really dread, then, hopefully you'll overcome the dread of the feeling of procrastination, and really start kick your ass in gear and get something done.
If you've ever read Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, I'm going to forget the name of what he recommends that you do. Grand gestures is what he calls it. Like if you want to write a book, there's some famous authors who have literally gone and bought a plane ticket, the longest flight on Earth. What is it? New York to Tokyo or something. Bought that plane ticket so that they'll be away from all distractions. They will be away from Wi-Fi, although now Wi-Fi is available on a lot of flights. But they'll get on this flight and type away for the flight from New York to Tokyo, and then flip that as soon as they land in Tokyo. Rather than going into Tokyo and getting a hotel room or whatever, they just go sit in the airport, wait for the flight back, and fly back.
Wow.
That's that grand gesture. That's another example is going and renting or getting a hotel room, very expensive hotel room for the weekend.
Yeah.
And writing over the weekend. Another example, right? And many of us have done this. Come, December 30, 31st, we go and buy a new pair of running shoes, some shorts. Hey, these are my new workout shoes. I invested in these, so I'm going to get into the gym. Maybe that's what works for you. But that, that grand gesture, an investment in achieving your goal, that's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, well, you're putting your money where your mouth is, or you're putting your ass on the line,
right?
And it's like, I could see that definitely working. So it's like, yeah, I mean, that's what's beautiful about all these tools. It's like, you can create, use information and advice like you just gave, John, from taking that grand gesture to be like, what, this is how important. Like, if you really do some soul searching, you really kind of look in, and there's a reason that dream keeps nagging you, because there's something in there for you, and the only way you're going to find what's in that box, in that dream, is by starting to do it. And if you have trouble starting, like, that grand gesture could be a great way to. And it's amazing, John, when you take that first step on that path, how it just, like, not only do a lot of doors open and a lot of synchronicity might be experienced, but opportunities start coming your way. But you just start. I feel like, this is my experience. Like, you literally start, instead of living and succumbing to the frequency of dread and regret and all that guilt, right? And that's a frequency, right? It's an energy, right? It has a certain way in which it vibrates. Instead of going the other way, like living your dreams, taking that first step, like being inspired, like being motivated, like, and then what are those frequencies going to start? Like, because they broadcast, right? And we're just,
ripple
we're just
effect.
Energetic beings. Right. And then what is that going to call forth into your life? Whereas, like, the flip side, what is procrastination pushing away from you? Right. It's like, and that's, I could see how, they said here in the last one, it's like, you feel like, you're kind of watching your life go by instead of actively putting yourself in your life. And I feel that procrastination just creates a buffer around you that you just get to observe and live in that malaise, and live in that mediocrity, and live with all that self-sabotage, and it just pushes everything away, where it's just like, no, today's the day, now's the time, right? That I'm going to start taking action to pursue my dreams, and start, just watch how that, it's not easy to walk the path of your dreams, John, but, like, that's, but no one ever said it was. It's just not, it's just not. Cool.
I mean, the what you just mentioned there just kind of brings up another Eric Thomas. Sorry, guys, I'm a huge Eric Thomas fan. What he says is, if you wait just one day, you put off starting working towards your goal just one day, that could put off achieving your dreams, achieving your goal by a whole 6 months, a whole year, just waiting one day, because there's actually like exponential effect on both sides.
Yeah.
Exponential effect on actually building towards your goals and actually accomplishing those goals, or the reverse. So just by waiting one day, it can have a hugely negative effect. But then also, Will, just to complete this thought, the frequency that you talked about, we put out those frequencies, and if we continually put out the negative frequency, other people around us are going to start to resonate those same frequencies, and they're going to start to procrastinate. But we can flip that. If we are working towards our goals and we're not procrastinating, then those around us can also have those same frequencies resonate in them, and they can start working towards their goals. Just like you talked about, Marcus Aurelius is saying, hey, misery loves company, but not as much as mediocrity. Well, if you are not being mediocre, then those around you are going to start to see that, and they might start to emulate your actions. So it's not just good for you, but it's good for those around you as well.
Yeah, very much so. I love being, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If you're around a bunch of people that are inspired, motivated, and getting their shit done, stacking wins, when you said about what you said earlier, like you're knocking down one domino that you don't do, you can just knock dominoes and then in that negative way and take you further away from what you want to do, right? Versus like knocking that domino in a positive direction, and that's going to take you one step closer, one day further into your dreams or into whatever you want to accomplish. Like it's all there. I mean, energy is real, and I think like we don't take that into it because it's considered woo-woo John or hippie shit. You know what I mean? But now we're waking up to it, right? It's real. It's real. It's absolutely real. All right, let's talk. I know we're getting close to time, but I think we're good, right, John? We can go 10, 15 minutes. Okay. Let's talk about stress and procrastination quick, because there's a link there, and then we can close by how to overcome procrastination, which we touched on a little bit. We can get a little more granular. So stress and procrastination. This is from, how about this website, John? What a win for these guys. Solvingprocrastination.com. Love that.
Good branding.
They must get a lot of hits. And this is from solvingprocrastination.com/stress. And they said procrastination is associated with stress in two main ways. Procrastination can cause stress, right? And stress can cause procrastination. So for example, procrastination causing stress. If someone delays getting started on a task, this can cause them to feel stressed out about the possibility that they won't finish the task before the upcoming deadline. Okay, so that's one way that stress can cause, or procrastination can cause stress. The other way, stress to procrastination. If someone's stress makes it difficult for them to focus on their work, this can lead them to procrastinate by doing things that don't require concentration, such as browsing social media, which we talked about was like number one on our poll. How about dangers? You want to go into dangers of procrastination and stress? You want to?
So we talked about it right there. Procrastination can cause stress, and stress can cause procrastination. But what is the danger of procrastination and the stress that it brings into your life, right? So procrastination is associated with various other issues, such as worse academic performance, worse financial status, increased interpersonal relationship issues, reduced well-being, worse sleep, worse mental and physical health. Many of these issues, such as mental and physical health problems, can also be caused by stress and are therefore at least partly attributable to the increased stress that procrastination can lead to. For example, when procrastination causes people to feel stressed, this can make them more susceptible to physical health problems, such as getting sick. So it's like this wheel, right? The procrastination causes stress, stress causes procrastination. And if you don't get off that little, I imagine the playground with the little spinning wheel, whatever the hell they're called. They don't have them on a whole lot of the merrick. Thank you. They don't have them on a lot of playgrounds anymore because so many kids got injured on them. They do have them on the playground that my kids go to, and I've seen kids get out. But anyhow, that's neither here nor there. That's what we get onto. We get onto this ever spinning wheel, and if we don't take the intentional step off of that, then we're going to be on that downward spiral. And that's what it all comes down to: intentionality. All right, that's what mindfulness is. I mean, if you want to distill it down to one word or two words, I guess, awareness and intentionality. If you are aware that you're procrastinating and you are aware that it is causing stress in your life, then be intentional and take that step towards that goal, and that's going to reduce the stress. It's going to reduce the stress.
And it increase not just your mental health, right, and your emotional health, but your physical health, because stress, I mean, how many different problems within the body and the mind have stress been linked to? If you're in a stressful state of being, like you're downregulating your immune system, your nervous system, your mental capacities, and then you open yourself up to being sick. And then what happens when you get sick? You're fucking very unlikely to access and start working towards that goal, right?
Yeah.
Or taking care of that cast, because you can't. Like, you're sick, you're laying in bed, right? So that's where one way where potentially procrastination can lead you is to being sick in bed, and then you're definitely not going to do anything, and then you're going to regret yourself more. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Cool. I thought it'd be interesting to say a big player in procrastination is instant gratification. This option provides immediate pleasure, right? And that's key here, right? Because you just want that real quick. It's like eating candy. It's like, oh, I just need something. You're like, I'm going to suck on some sugar. And it's consequently very attractive to impulsive procrastinators at the point of discovery of the achievable goal at hand. So, so that's something to be aware of, like that instant gratification,
or the lack thereof. The lack, also the lack thereof, right? So, a lot of us go to the gym, and we don't see a change in our bodies in a week, and we start getting disheartened, discouraged, and we quit. A lot of us start meditating, and we don't see a change in the way that we feel in a week, and we quit because we don't get that instant gratification. But if we stick to it, that's when we start to see and feel the changes. Right? It's not so much how hard you work out in the gym. It's not how hard you meditate, but it's how often you do it and actually stick to it. That's what changes. So that's another thing that really gets in the way of people going after and achieving their goals. They don't get that instant gratification.
Well, that's like, the same, I guess it could be considered like the same gremlins of mediocrity, right? They're all there.
For sure.
They're all just bringing to the same place, So it's like, whether, okay, I'm going to start meditating, and I'm going to fucking find my Zen garden, in a day. Right? It's not going to happen, right? You're constantly building that. It's a journey. It's not a destination. I think one thing that people should be aware of anything, getting buff and getting to the gym or running your marathon, it's a journey, not a destination. Like, there are, in like a marathon, you have a deadline, you have a, an end point.
Finish line.
But, a finish line, exactly. You could tell last time I ran, John. Can't even say finish line. So here we go. So let's, I just wanted to bring that up. It's like, we're kind of all, you can go to dark side of all that negative bullshit, right? And the stuff that, leaves you feeling like shit, right? Or you can come into the light, right? By doing stuff that really inspires you, activates your heart, and just leads to a more fulfilling life. Overcoming, we'll just close with this. Yeah,
let's do it.
All right, got 4 things here. This is again from solvingprocrastination.com. Overcoming. To overcome procrastination in the long term, do the following. It says first one is set specific and realistic goals, right? So this could be a SMART goal, would be very good. I don't think we need to run through the examples here that they have, unless there's something sticking out for you for setting specific and realistic goals, John.
No, I mean, it's just that's fairly self-explanatory.
Very clear, right?
Yeah.
Assess your procrastination, right? So first, identify cases in which you delay unnecessarily to figure out what exactly you procrastinate on, whether it's studying or whatever, like painting your room or something like that. And how do you do it? By, cleaning, getting on social media, whatever. And then think about those situations to also figure out where and when you procrastinate. So whether it's at home or at the library, or starting to or finishing a task in the morning or the evening, finally, this is the final part of assessing your procrastination. Finally, figure out why you procrastinate. So that's due to maybe perfectionism. Like, I see that a lot in yoga class. Like, everyone wants to have like the perfect pose, but they never did yoga before, right? I mean, that's just shit, right?
Yeah.
It could also be fear, anxiety, depression, ADHD, sensation seeking, or abstract goals, right? Again, we need, the first one is set specific goals and realistic goals.
Can
And
I cover the last
after reading about why people procrastinate. But go ahead, yeah, John.
Yes. Sorry for the last two.
Nope.
For overcoming, create the action plan, right? So actually sit down and be intentional, which we talked about, being intentional, creating that action plan. And it's all well and good to create that action plan, but you have to actually implement that plan, right? You actually have to do it. We have a saying in the SEAL teams where a lot of guys will plan a dive and what you got to do to actually, let's say, attack a ship. You swim with these compasses underneath water. You swim with a compass and a watch, and you have an idea of how far you go in a certain amount of time based on your kick, the number of kicks that you do with your fins and everything else. And you get an idea of where you are underwater based on that. And a lot of guys will write out this real detailed plan about, okay, I'm going to swim at this heading on the compass for 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Then I'm going to turn and do this, and they come up with this really great elaborate plan, and it looks great on paper. But guess what? When you get underneath water, plans often go to shit.
Yeah.
So the saying is plan your dive and dive your plan. So actually plan your escape from procrastination, and then actually stick to that plan. Don't plan it and then kind of veer off. Granted, there's going to be changes, but don't just dump it completely. So dive or plan your dive and dive your plan. That's what we do in the SEAL teams, or plan your mission and actually do the plan. So anyhow,
fourth one, go for it, John. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
I mean, what does Mike Tyson say? Is like everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Punch in the mouth.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. So that's it. I mean, create the action plan number 3, and then actually implementing it number 4.
Right.
Right.
And there's lots of, we talked about, get a buddy. I mean, accountability is really powerful. Or,
huge.
Or just, but make it. I think it could be helpful, John, and you're very good at this, and I'm getting better at this. I have like a painted my wall black for this. Like, to put it in front of you instead of having it in your phone. Right. Yeah. I love that brick wall, John. Just kidding. Lots on that. But instead of having it in your phone, which is going to lead you, if you have like all your notes and all your dreams, all your plans in your fucking phone, right? Which, I mean, I definitely have a lot of stuff in my phone. But what are you going to be more likely to do? You're going to get on social media, you're going to break that focus and that concentration on what you're doing. So get it outside of yourself. Get it in get it on fucking paper, Get it in on a whiteboard, get it on a chalkboard, right? And see it. Right, there you go. I mean, that's the why don't you promote this?
Yeah,
Scrum on the go,
it's
right?
kind of getting blurred with my virtual screen there, but yeah, my Scrum on the go board. That's what I use to get my shit done and to stay on task. Basically, it's like a task list, but so many people keep like you were mentioning there, Will. So many keep their to-do lists in their phone or even in a notebook. It gets lost. Like, you put in a notebook and that notebook closes, it may as well be. It's out of sight, out of mind. This thing is in front of me all day, every day, so it allows me to get done what I need to get done. Shameless plug for the Scrum on the Go board.
Scrum on the Go. Yeah. I think that's overcoming I think one thing from this is Mel Robbins. She has a really great talk on. She's really wonderful. I really enjoy listening to her. She could really forgive yourself first when you fall short or you start procrastinating. Forgive yourself, just by opening that door of forgiveness that comes from the heart. Right, you have an opportunity to reset, and then you can get back on. You don't have to get into that self-defeating attitude and feelings. Which how many times we talk about them in just this hour. They just don't work. They're not going to help you, and
right.
I think John,
I fucking just say time-tied information. They wait for no one, so you better get started. Whatever your goals are, come up with that plan, implement that plan, work towards that goal, because the longer you wait, the longer you're going to wait. Yeah,
very true. And also there's a lot of weight with that weight, From
yes.
boom, it just sits.
True.
The dread just gets in there, John. It's like,
I like that. I like that pun, man. I like that play on words.
No,
well done.
it's
well
the
done.
weight of the weight.
Hey, like, what do we say when we have a great saying? Freaking trademark that thing.
Yeah, trademark. I got it right. The Men Talking Mindfulness.
The weight of the weight.
For this, the weight of the weight. All right.
I love
it. Should we wrap it up, John? Or
let's do it, man. Yeah, let's wrap it up with that closing practice, and let's call it a day.
Yeah, and I'll just say that this closing practice could be, getting to that STOP, right? Stop, take a breath, observe, proceed. Like, this can be what can help you to realize you're procrastinating, right? And hopefully pull yourself out of those feelings that come along with procrastination and the stress, just to lift your head above enough, right? To observe, right? Taking that breath is going to help you observe, and then you can proceed in the direction you want and start knocking those dominoes down, towards accomplishing that goal. And that's, that's another great reason that we talk about these breath practices, do this grounding practice. And here's a way to activate that grounding practice when you're feeling the gremlins of procrastination and you're like lesser self. We're just going to 5 breaths. It's all it can really take, John, just to kind of clear those lenses, get out of your way, and proceed. And we're just going to do, I really like that. Let's do the BAMO breath, John. Right?
BAMO.
Inhale 4, exhale 4, and BAMO stands for, and this is by My Steady Mind and Dr. Seth Hickerson, who's been on the show twice, breathe and move on, right? So it's actually a call to action. So inhale 4, exhale 4, we're going to do it 4 times, and then we're going to call it a wrap. Okay, so find that seat. You can do this anywhere you are right now, and no one's going to know you're even doing it probably. Exhale out. Good. Now take a big, deep inhale. Exhale through the lips. Let it go. Good. Again, inhale 4 seconds. Push it out 4. In 4. Out. One more in 4. Out. Good, and just take a moment and thank yourself for listening to this episode, making it to the end, learning about procrastination, and hopefully you're less likely to procrastinate in the future. And open your eyes when you're ready. And
thanks, Will.
John, I really enjoyed this today. Thank you.
Yeah, me too, man. It's got me
a lot of fun.
It's got me inspired to take action. Like Marcus Aurelius says, action, not words, right? And I know Lindsay's probably over there in the corner,
right?
Yeah, smirking because the podcast where we all talk is all about actions, not words. But anyhow. Hey, thanks for that grounding practice, Will. And for those who are watching live, thanks for tuning in with your comments. Those who are listening later, thanks for listening. Please share the show with anyone that you think would benefit from this. We really appreciate you, our audience, and you are why we do this. And until next time, take care. Peace.
Peace. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you walk away with some new tools and insights to guide you on your life journey. New episodes are being published every week, so please join us again for some meaningful discussion. For more information, please check out mentalkingmindfulness.com.